Stephen D. Greidanus complains that the Christianity references have no purpose or meaning and that they are merely there to compensate for the grotesque violence. This comment is completely false and not at all fair, as religion and Lawrence's faith is actually a very important aspect of the character, as well as of all of the characters, and also adds to the crucial deep themes of the film, which conveys a very detailed message. It begins at the start of the movie with Lawrence dismissing his father's religious quotes and the Bible references as nothing more than the ramblings of savagery of the natural world. However, as we see later, Lawrence is seen in Quinn's antique shop praying to God to save him from the beast within, finally accepting that God is not some deranged legend from the natural world, but a source of hope, love, and support to help him get through the tragedy of his life. Quinn even tells Lawrence that if the existence of the Wolfman is possible, then everything is, including God. This is a really touching moment, as it seems that the filmmakers do understand that there is a higher power of good that can help us through the dark times like the one Lawrence faces. Which of course do have to be part of his one true church. So if he appears in human form and he builds his church upon a rock, which is a man called Simon who appoints successors, you better follow them, you assholes. Oh, by the way, the movie Doctor, of course, is interpreting this in a more broad sense. He's a Muslim, but hey, I'm hijacking his ideas, so oh my god, I just caused a religious war, didn't I? Well, there are already so many, so who cares? So this theme was also really deep and smart, as it is true, praying shows your pure of heart, as you dedicate yourself to God. Yet many good people have been corrupted, and demons certainly are real, as you can see in people trying to destroy all that's pure, like in the Builder Storm, or anything that I do. I mean, I don't even have to mention it, although I feel as though I should, because you people still won't believe me. You still just think that this is funny, after I keep telling you it's not. It's like this Fairy Parrots episode, you keep telling people, no, I'm not joking, and they just think it's funny. I guess people just think genocide is funny, but then why were all of these dictators so unsuccessful? I guess it just wasn't as much in fashion, in the 60s. I talked about it with Fidel Castro, I said, like, one day people will appreciate you as a very funny guy. And also said that about Hitler, and with Hitler it's partially becoming true, as people do like to make jokes about Hitler. But I still think he should get more credit, and I'm so going to hell. And people often ignore dark realities, like for example nobody wanted to acknowledge World War II, that it was inevitable. And by the way, I just referenced the war, not a certain genocidal event that took place during that. I'm working on being more sensitive. Really. My local priest keeps nagging me. Yet in spite of that, I'm still a demon. I mean, I commit demonic acts, I sold my soul to the devil, and I change into a dark, shadowy cloud at night. Yet my local priest still thinks he can save me. And you cannot kill nagging priests. It just makes them martyrs. Also, it is true faith does not always physically protect us, as many brave Catholics were martyred in Poland, Germany and the Netherlands during World War II, yet it can support us, like Christians who prayed during Roman persecution. Yet religion has been used a lot to support violence. Anglicans and even Catholics in Britain had burned witches and heretics, and Satan can transform people, like he did with evil people like, for example, the Vandal Hunric. And if this is too much history for you, and you're bored, don't worry. I will murder you in your sleep. Now that is exciting. Well, you won't be conscious to experience it, but it will make for exciting dreams. That is, if you're in such a dream state that what happens to you in reality affects you. Those dreams are like very nice. Like you're stabbing someone and they dream about being chased and about being killed by a mafioso, the Godfather Part 1 style. It's wonderful. But yet sincere faith can purify us against prejudice, like the blessed Cardinal John Henry Newman, who lived in Great Britain in the 19th century. And it does save souls, and some people sometimes also willfully choose evil and burn in hell, like Leo III the Assyrian, who hypocritically claimed he cared for orthodoxy to support iconoclasm. And God can give us hope, as indeed if there's darkness, there is light. That's the balance of the worlds. If there's a devil, so is there a God. So this was indeed a really smart and wise theme. Also, there's a deep theme on prejudice and discrimination. Lawrence left the village as his father was cruel to him for being like his mother, showing even family can be biased. And the villagers hate gypsies and therefore sold Lawrence's mother, even though she married someone in the town and got children, showing that discrimination is often based on birth and not on the actions of someone. And also it leads to worse conclusions, as to think the bear of the gypsies could be responsible. And we see truly kind people are protective of anyone who's innocent, as Lawrence is protecting a young gypsy boy. And that this can be rewarded as the gypsies turn out to be humane and save his life. And we see prejudices are often so baseless, people jump back and forth between which they support, as Francis, because of Lawrence being committed as a child, thinks he could have done it. Man, tell me about it. I was committed as a child and people are still suspicious of me. Granted, I was committed for slaughtering my whole family, but still. Yeah, I changed backstories again, get over it. Also, the villagers assume he was corrupted by the devil and automatically threaten to attack him, even though he's also a victim, showing how cold prejudices make people. And that people tying into the honesty theme don't want to think outside their narrow ideas. They torture Lawrence, and that one of the keys to being pure is open-mindedness, as Gwen still loves him, and also that people are pessimistic in their assumptions, like Francis saying Gwen cannot save him, even though he has no reason to automatically know that for sure, and in the end, this makes him the true monster, as he also gets bitten and becomes the next Wolfman. I got bitten as well by the Wolfman. It killed him. Poor sucker. So this theme was clever and meaningful as well. Family is not immune to bias. Parents have hated on the children for handicaps, and often people hate on things we cannot choose, like being weak or having a low IQ or autism, for example, or needing a wheelchair, and people often come to quick assumptions, like the Catholic Franks, the Catholic Visigoths, or Valentinian III, assumed the Jews would be against them and therefore had them thrown out of the army and their children taken away and their property confiscated, and also heroic people like Oskar Schindler indiscriminately protected the innocent. So it is true that truly kind people protect anyone regardless of their race or gender, and they supported him when he became poor, so it shows also that it indeed pays off and is rewarding. And people like the Nazis. Admit it, I avoided it for a long time. Went back and forth between hating on homosexuals, gypsies and Poles and Jews, so people indeed jump around a lot with their hatred. And bad histories often follow people, like Catholics who were hated by Anglicans for centuries, and French nobles who sided with the revolution yet were killed, and people become cold from prejudice, like the Eastern Orthodoxes who massacred the Latins, and then the sack of Constantinople in retaliation, and people often want to ignore the truth, like when people ignore the cruelties of the Cultural Revolution, and really innocent people are open, like the Virgin Mary. That is perpetual virgin, by the way. And also negative assumptions are really common, like that advanced female doctors were witches in the Middle Ages. So it is true people often have negative prejudices. So this was a really deep theme. And let's never discuss history, politics or religion again. Till I finished eating this Choco Prince. Okay, this is actually kind of private. Look away. Look away. I said look away. Do you want to see a magic trick? I'm gonna make this pen disappear. Okay, good. Thanks. Fine, I'll get on with the review. Also, there's a meaningful theme on family and legacy. By the way, you so totally are not my brothers and sisters anymore. Screw you all. You do not respect me in any way. And no, I'm not going to be so close to reference Confucius Matthew's Iron Man 2 review. No, we see the family Talbot was once happy with a loving father who was rich, a sweet mother, and two supportive brothers, but it went wrong when John got bitten and transformed, killing his own wife, making Lawrence sad and depressed, showing family troubles start with abusive father figures, and they continue when people refuse to acknowledge them, or when these figures blame others, as Sir John had Lawrence committed after he was already hurt by his mother's death, ruining their relationship and making Sir John even more lonely, instead of killing himself, which would be the selfless thing to do. It really shows the hypocrisy of the father ruined their relationship, and this forces family members to take sides, as Ben stays with his father and Lawrence breaks off contact with him as well. But we eventually see abuse continues as Ben wants to leave with Gwen, causing Sir John to transform and kill him. Also shown, it is best to stay away from abusive family as much as possible, and this inevitably leaves the abuser lonely and somber, which we also get a nice visual metaphor for when Lawrence visits the mansion, which is dark and empty and unfriendly as the dog nearly attacks him, and we inevitably go back to try and change the past as Lawrence does, going back to his hometown, but this only hurts us more, as he's bitten and then transforms himself. Gwen even says the place is impossible to escape. Also, we see that we can be in denial of our family history as Lawrence tried to forget how much he loved his mother, as he couldn't understand why she killed herself, and we see the abuse continues as his father frames him, so he's committed and tortured again. We see the inevitable way to break out of this is to stand up to the corruption of our family, which Lawrence does, fighting and killing his father. I keep telling my family to stand up to me, but they just laugh at me like I have a wild imagination, even though I was one of the chief orchestrators of the killing of the Ukrainians and the Cultural Revolution, with the help of my communist friends. Yes, I'm a right-winged communist who was involved with massacres that happened over 20, 30 and 40 years ago. Wild imagination, my dick. I would say my ass, but that is the cliché. And also the burning of the mansion is a beautiful visual metaphor. Also what is smart is that, as was traditional in the past, the father was always in the right, as Lawrence's mother and him were considered crazy, and we see that love does live on. Also, as Lawrence cherishes the love he felt for his brother, and this is reborn in Gwen. Which, my god, this is a weird connection, but that kind of reminds me of Aang's love for the airbenders being reborn in Katara in Avatar The Last Airbender. The show, by the way, not the movie. Yeah, it's an odd connection, I know. Why did I take elements of tropical frogs and put them in my chocolate prints again? I mean, I just kind of took the juices and, no, don't make immature jokes about it, and put them in chocolate prints. They make them even more delicious and give you all the imagination. They actually help me write. Yeah, I always take the flute of frogs as part of milkshakes or lemonades before I start writing my reviews in order to get inspiration. Yeah, that might actually explain a lot, especially for you, and for me, and my psychiatrist, and the police, and my therapist, and my children. Yes, I actually have children. I have got no idea where they are right now. But, as I said, I think that the strongest book in the Bible was just the second one. It's kind of like the second film in a trilogy. Exodus really was the strongest story. And people comment, on the Pharaoh hardening his heart, and then ask, like, did the Pharaoh harden his heart or did God harden his heart? And I don't believe that they are contradictory. I believe in the Catholic ideals of free will. So of course God wouldn't force the Pharaoh to sin. That is ridiculous. Oh yeah, I'm doing a movie review. This film is also really meaningful and thought-provoking, as it is true that the abuse of just one powerful person can rip a family apart. It's very reminiscent of Barry Lyndon in, Barry Lyndon, which also was a very strong film. People often comment that it's underrated, and it's true, because nowadays it's a classic, but like many Kubrick films, it wasn't very much appreciated at its release, and some Kubrick films just suck. 2001: Space Odyssey, Matthew couldn't have said more. What am I doing again? Is this? I don't think this is my house. I'm like, I live in Los Angeles, and I live in one of the darker alleys. What the hell am I doing here? I'm not even sure these are my clothes, and I have them on backwards. Oh, I'm supposed to read this up. Or Livia in Claudius, and it is true in real life, the way the leader of the family treats his family influences how they treat each other. This was also the case with the corrupt Roman Emperor Septimus Severus, who was power-hungry and socially Darwinistic, and led his wife to be manipulative, causing the innocent son Caracalla to become jealous of his brother Geta, and a violent psychopath. And people like Caligula blamed others for everything that was wrong and had them murdered for it. Even though he should have had himself treated for his mental illnesses. Caligula truly was crazy. By the way, I lost my cross necklace, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put the crucifix, I hope this pen still works, on my head. So, does that look good? And especially Nero should have stepped down, showing that what continues abuse is hypocrisy and blaming others and self-indulgence. So that is a really wise and smart theme. It's very detailed and very multi-layered. What is dumb, on the other hand, is that I'm analyzing all of this, yet I still haven't gotten a therapist. Families often have to take sides and struggles, as people are absolutistic with their love, if they are taught to be this way by their parents, who are their examples, and corrupt them, creating a sphere of mistrust and abuse, which eventually always gets worse. And abusive people are often more lonely themselves, and going back to the past usually only worsens their problems, so that is very wise. As a note, having remade bullies, some people stay abusive, and having known children by abusive parents, they stayed cruel and kept hurting them. And I knew a girl who was even raped by a guy who her parents told her she couldn't see who she ran away with. So it is really smart that it is best to get away as quickly as she can, and abuse indeed often repeats itself in the same way, as I've known a mother who kept humiliating and assaulting her daughter also. And by the way, these are all acquaintances, and my family and I are totally normal. I just take LSD to get ready before shooting a video. Yeah, you really thought I took tropical frogs? How would I even be supposed to get them here? It's just LSD, The Netherlands. It's easy to get here. And I take them before a review, and you all fell for it. Or am I just being the devil, convincing you that I don't exist? Think about that after you take your LSD.